Your hands are soaked in dew-wet tobacco leaves before the sun has even cleared the tree line, and your stomach is already lurching, but you haven't smoked a single thing. By noon, your body has absorbed the nicotine equivalent of 36 cigarettes directly through your skin, and you are 9 years old. By the end, you'll understand how one man with a camera and a lie changed what happened to children exactly like you. You wake before 4 in the morning. Not because an alarm pulls you up, but because your mother's hand does. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. The dark outside the window is the same dark it was when you fell asleep, and your body hasn't fully decided yet whether yesterday ended or today began. You eat something, cornbread, maybe cold beans, standing up, because sitting down feels like a commitment to rest you aren't allowed to make. Your younger sister is still asleep on the other side of the room. You watch her for 1 second longer than you should, then you follow your mother out the door. The field is already wet. August in Virginia means the dew settles thick on every leaf, and the tobacco plants stand taller than your shoulders, their broad leaves heavy and trembling. You know what that wetness means. You've known since you were 7. You step in anyway, because stepping in is the only choice that exists. Within 4 minutes, your forearms are soaked. The nicotine in those leaves, and there is a tremendous amount of it, concentrated and raw, nothing like what ends up in a finished cigarette, begins moving through your skin immediately. Your body has no filter for this, no lungs to partially block it. It goes straight in, frictionless, invisible. You don't feel it as a high. Adults who hear this story later will imagine something like euphoria, some buzz that made the work bearable. That is not what happens. What happens is your stomach begins to tighten. A slow nautical roll, like a boat finding bad water. You are not yet 30 minutes into your workday. The foreman walks the row ends. He is not cruel in any dramatic way. He doesn't shout, doesn't strike. He simply exists as the human embodiment of a quota, and his presence reminds every bent back in this field that slowness has a cost. You keep your hands moving. Your fingers know the motions without asking your brain for permission anymore. Here's what nobody in 1908 has a name for yet. What's happening to your body right now has a clinical label that won't be coined for decades. Green tobacco sickness. And by the time you finish this video, you'll understand exactly why the man who finally documented your existence had to pretend to be someone else entirely just to get close enough to photograph you. The nausea arrives in waves. The first wave you push through. The second wave you breathe through. By the third, you are bent at the waist between 2 rows, hands on your knees, and the cornbread from this morning is making its reappearance in the red Virginia dirt. You wipe your mouth on your sleeve. You stand back up. Your mother sees you vomit. She doesn't stop working. This is not because she doesn't love you. She loves you with a ferocity that would burn this whole field down if love could do that. She doesn't stop because stopping means losing the day's wages, and losing the day's wages means something worse than watching you suffer. She knows this. You know this. Neither of you says it out loud. The sun is over the trees now. You can feel it adding its weight to everything else. Sweat opens your pores wider, and wider pores mean faster absorption, and faster absorption means the 36 cigarette figure your body is tracking toward arrives ahead of schedule. Your skin is doing work your lungs never consented to perform. Let's be precise about the number, because precision is important here. Researchers who study green tobacco sickness in the modern era, it still happens today to agricultural workers, estimate that a single hour of wet tobacco harvesting can deliver between 1 and 4 milligrams of nicotine transdermally. A cigarette delivers roughly 1 to 2 milligrams. You have been in this field for 6 hours. The dizziness is different from the nausea. The nausea has a logic. Your body is trying to expel something. The dizziness is your nervous system simply misfiring, overwhelmed by a stimulant it received no warning about and has no protocol for processing. You grab a tobacco stalk to keep upright. The leaves smear more dew onto your palm. You almost laugh. Almost? You don't laugh because laughing takes energy, and energy is the one currency you are spending faster than you can earn it. You are 9 years old, and you are running an internal deficit that no wage in this field will ever cover. The foreman writes numbers in a ledger. None of those numbers are yours. Your father worked this same field until his lungs gave out. That is not a metaphor. Something actually went wrong inside his chest, some wet rattle that arrived one winter and never fully left. He still works, but slower now, and the foreman has noticed. You are here, in part, because you are faster than your father has become, and that fact sits in the back of your mind like a stone you can't put down. Keep watching, because what's coming next is the part of this story that almost no one knows. The specific legal loophole that made everything you're experiencing not just tolerated but protected, and the single photograph that eventually blew it open. We're not done with you yet. Virginia in 1908 has a child labor law. You should know that. It passed in 1890 and it sounds, if you read it quickly, like protection. It sets a minimum age for factory work. It limits certain hours, but you are not in a factory. You are in a field, and fields are explicitly excluded, and that exclusion was not an oversight. The agricultural exemption existed because the people who wrote the law were the same people who own the fields. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is just the ordinary operation of power, the way law has always been written by the people with the most to lose from its enforcement. You are 9 years old, and you are the proof of concept. By mid-morning, the headache arrives. It starts at the base of your skull and spreads forward, a slow pressure that makes the sunlight feel aggressive. This is also nicotine toxicity, the vasoconstrictive effect, blood vessels tightening behind your eyes. You have no word for vasoconstriction. You just call it the bad headache, the one that means today is going to be a long day. Other children are in this field. You know their names. There's a boy 2 rows over who is 7, younger than you, smaller than you, which means the leaves reach his face when he walks and he has to part them with his arms like swimming. He vomited earlier than you did this morning. He is still working. The break, when it comes, is 15 minutes. You sit in the dirt at the row's edge and drink from a shared tin cup, and the world tilts slightly when you tilt your head back. You are aware, in a dim and unformed way, that your body is not functioning correctly. But there is no version of today where that awareness changes anything about tomorrow. This is the part that is hardest to hold. You are not a victim in the dramatic sense. You are not locked up, not beaten, not screaming. You are a child doing what children in your position have always done, which is adapt completely and completely to a world that was designed without your survival as a primary concern. Your compliance looks, from the outside, like contentment. And that is exactly the problem, because contentment is invisible to reform. Suffering that has been normalized doesn't register as suffering to the people with the power to end it. It registers as the natural order. It registers as proof that you are suited to this work, that you don't mind, that you are, the word people use, resilient. Resilience is what they call it when they've made the alternative impossible. Stay with this, because we're about to get to 1908's most dangerous photographer, a man who understood exactly what you just read between those lines, and who was willing to risk everything to make your invisible suffering visible on film. And what he did to get that close is the part that changes everything. His name is Louis Hine. He is 34 years old in 1908, and he has just quit his job as a schoolteacher in New York City, which was a stable and respectable position, to work for the National Child Labor Committee, documenting conditions in fields and factories across the American South. His colleagues think he is brave. The factory owners think he is a criminal. Hine cannot simply walk into a tobacco field with a camera. The owners know what documentation means. They've seen what happened in the northern mills when photographs started circulating. So Hine arrives at plantation gates with a cover story. He is a Bible salesman. He is here to speak with the workers about their spiritual needs. He has a large bag. The camera is in the bag. You would not have known he was there. That is the design. Hine moved carefully, spoke quietly, made himself forgettable to the foremen while making himself memorable to the children. He crouched to their level. He looked directly at them. He asked their names and their ages and wrote the answers in a small notebook he kept inside his jacket. He was collecting evidence the way a lawyer does, except his courtroom was public opinion. The photographs he took are in the Library of Congress right now. You can look at them tonight. Children your age, your size, standing in tobacco rows with wet arms and flat expressions. Not sad, exactly, not performing suffering for the camera, just present. Just existing inside a system that had decided their existence was a resource. Hine's genius was refusing to let that be invisible. Back in the field, your afternoon is slower than your morning. Your body is doing something that modern researchers call nicotine fatigue. The receptors have been firing so hard for so many hours that they've begun to dull, which sounds like relief, but manifests as a gray, weighted exhaustion that makes your legs feel like they belong to someone else. You keep moving. The quota doesn't know about nicotine fatigue. The sun drops. The dew is gone, but the damage is done. Your skin absorbed what it absorbed, and your body is processing it now, slowly, in the background, the way a system clears a backlog after the rush. You walk home behind your mother in the late orange light, and the fields smell like what they are, like the raw material of an industry that will, in the coming decades, addict and kill millions of people. You helped make that possible today. Virginia's legislature takes up a new child labor bill in early 1910. The photographs are in the room, not hanging on the walls, but in the hands of reformers who have been distributing them, publishing them, pressing them into the palms of delegates. Heinz images from the tobacco fields are specifically cited in committee testimony. The bill passes on March 1, 1910. Agricultural exemptions remain, but the principle shifts. The floor begins to move. We're almost at the end, but the final piece is the one that reframes everything you've just experienced, because what happened after that law passed didn't just change the law. It changed what was possible to demand and who got to demand it. And it started with a photograph of a child who thought no one was watching. Your hands are soaked in dew-wet tobacco leaves before the sun has even cleared the tree line, and your stomach is already lurching, but you haven't smoked a single thing. You never learned that a man with a camera and a lie came to fields like yours, crouched down, looked children like you in the eye, and turned your invisible suffering into evidence. His photographs helped pass Virginia's 1910 child labor law. You were the proof. He made you the argument. The question is, who's making that argument for the workers we still refuse to see? Tell me in the comments.